The geometry of it just doesn't make sense.
The defense argued it was perfectly possible, then launched a scathing attack on the forensic evidence. Investigators had missed seeing a bullet hole in Rachel's head. So what else might they have overlooked?
It's shocking that they could go into that room and not see the bullet wound in the forehead. It's stunning that careful, meticulous police investigators, laboratory investigators can miss that.
Several areas on the cylinder, part of the weapon.
The forensics did present a confusing picture. Microscopic particles of gunshot residue were discovered on Rachel's hands.
Another friction ridge impression.
It's what comes out of a gun, the soot, the powder, and it lands on whatever it is that is near it or holding it. Both of Rachel's hands, the front and the back, not just one hand, not, both hands, front and back, had gunshot residue on it.
When Neil Entwistle's car was examined, forensic scientists found no traces of gun residue, though they swabbed the steering wheel, water bottle, and a coffee carton. The defense had still to provide a motive for Rachel's alleged suicide.
They had recently moved and started their lives all over again. She had recently had a baby. Was she being under any medication? What did her friends say about her? Were there signs of depression?
Not even remotely, because this is a girl who loved children and loved life. I mean, the combination, she'd gone into teaching. She'd chosen to spend all her time with children. She was then having a baby. She was absolutely delighted to be doing that. She always had a reason to find the positive, just her very nature. So, unimaginable.
And then on the opposite side of the weapon.
How remarkable is it that a bullet hole could go unnoticed? The jury heard detailed evidence on the .22 caliber bullets which killed mother and child.
The .22 caliber round is less than 1/4 of an inch in diameter. It's used for hunting small game such as rabbits and squirrels and for target practice. The 9mm round is the standard NATO military round for handguns used by all of the NATO forces around the world. The third that we have is the .44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, made famous, of course, in the Clint Eastwood movies. It's easy to see that the .22 is much smaller than the .44, and the cartridge case carrying much more powder produces a much faster and more powerful impact, whereas the .22 is a relatively low-powered cartridge.
The effect these bullets have is also radically different. The one which killed Rachel Entwistle lodged inside her head and was only detected by X-ray. A larger weapon would have left no doubt as to the cause of death. While Neil Entwistle remained silent, extraordinary details of his secret life were about to unfold in court.
Neil Entwistle had an alter ego, you might say, a second reality, and it was online.
Between 2003 and 2006, he registered more than half a dozen websites with different money-making schemes.
Neil Entwistle was trying to make money any way he could. One of the things he tried to sell was how to build your own porn site. His advertisement was, I can teach you how to make millions of dollars in the porn world. Now, I opened up one of his porn sites, and he had an example of it. Stock photos you see in any porn site tended to be a little bit towards the more hardcore. And that was one of his businesses.
His .com ambitions came to nothing, and so he turned to eBay.
He would try to sell software and try to sell services online. He didn't always deliver, and so on eBay you can rate the performance of a transaction, and people did not like him. They'd say, stay away from him.
Instead of earning $10,000 a month, as he'd claimed, Neil Entwistle was living only on credit cards, with debts of around $30,000. When police analysed his computer hard drive, they found more evidence of a secret and solitary life, far removed from the happy family image.
It came out in court that he was saying to American women, I'm coming over, show me if you're better than British women in bed. It also came out that he was surfing for escorts, code for hooker, prostitute. They had a forensic expert who could dig into Neil Entwistle's laptop and find out when he was on this site, what he was doing. They say he was on them the day of the murders, even after the murders.
A scrap of newspaper found in his pocket after his arrest in London may have hardened opinion amongst the jury still further.
When that came out, you could almost see the jurors shake their head. You knew that this was key evidence. Here you have a supposed happily married young dad and husband. It's two polar opposites, you know, a type of Jekyll and Hyde. Who is he?
You ready to proceed?
Over the 2-week trial, observers reported almost no emotion from Neil Entwistle. Except once, when crime scene video was played, showing the bodies exactly as they were found, with classical music picked up by the police camcorder.
It's not a pleasant picture. It's upsetting. It's what bodies look like, you know, 3 days into being dead. It was the strangest thing. All of a sudden, he broke out into this type of half grin, half grimace. It was amazing. He had like this, you know, this kind of like gritting of his teeth, and it looked like a smile, but, and then again, it didn't.
Foreperson of the jury, have you reached a verdict? Please hand it to the court officer.
In reality, 2 people had been on trial. Forensic evidence seemed to implicate Rachel. Neil had given 2 different accounts of what happened. The unspoken question for the jury was, which of these parents murdered the baby? The jury had been out for just 11 hours, a rapid decision in a trial like this, and they were unanimous.
What say you, foreperson? Is the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty of murder in the first degree of Rachel Entwistle.
On indictment number 2006-387-002. What say you, foreperson? Is the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty of murder in the first degree of William Entwistle.
For the parents in this case, the matter was by no means settled. First came a statement in court from Rachel's mother.
Suffering does not begin to describe what we have been enduring without our beloved Rachel and Lillian. For him to have tried to hide behind an accusation of murder, suicide of this beautiful woman and perfect mother is low and despicable.
Neil Entwistle's parents and brother, who'd sat through every day, addressed the waiting media.
We know that our son Neil is innocent, and we are devastated to learn that the evidence points to Rachel murdering our grandchild and then committing suicide. Our son will now go to jail for loving, honouring and protecting his wife's memory.
What did you do to help Rachel when you knew she was depressed?
Local people who'd followed the trial blow by blow were quick to offer their verdict on the Hopkinton News website.
I think it's disgraceful that they're blaming the victim and they are tearing her apart. I think her family has suffered enough.
I don't think he gave two hoots about his wife's honor when she was alive, or he wouldn't have done the things he did.
I don't understand why you don't run to your neighbor, break the door down. Hey, get somebody here. I found my wife and child. Cripes, I have a little argument with my wife and I'm sick for a month. I don't understand it. Maybe it's the England way of doing things.
Neil Entwistle is now appealing his conviction. A critical factor in the case was his phone conversation, recorded and played as evidence despite his lawyer's objection.
It was very clever to conduct the conversation in the manner in which it was conducted. Had he been brought into a police station in the UK, we would have had a different legal standard employed, and I don't believe the conversation would have been permitted.
Jurors had to rely on instinct, asking themselves whether that voice had the ring of truth. Technology exists to analyze a voice scientifically.
When you're presented with a situation which is a threat to you, you will have a physiological changes in your body. One of those changes is loss of blood in the vocal cords. That causes a minute frequency change that only technology can pick up.
The technology is widely used by government agencies and insurance companies to gauge the honesty of phone callers. It works by analyzing speech patterns and voice frequency